What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over here this week. And the first story is that Honda has revealed a few teaser images here of the 2022 Civic, which is actually coming next week. It's technically a prototype in typical Honda fashion, but we know that this is basically the production version, 99.9% of the way. So anyway, they have this one teaser image, which gives us a very clear look at the taillights, so we can see how those look, and they look a lot like Audi A4 taillights in my opinion, or like an A5 Sportback or something. Anyway, and then the teaser video shows elements like the headlight DRLs, those taillights again, as well as bits and pieces elsewhere on the vehicle. The full reveal, though, is going to be happening next week on November 17th at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. So it's going to be the first car reveal on Twitch, and yeah, that'll be interesting to see how they, play that out. We can all watch and see how that goes. And then the 2022 Civic is supposed to be going on sale late spring of 2021. So a lot of you were worried about, why is the SI not coming over? What's going on with the Civic and stuff. All that stuff is going to be returned with the next gen version here in the spring of 2021. Aside from, it's most likely not going to have any kind of coupe anymore. That's pretty much dead for good. But at least, we know a hatchback's still coming, the sedan, and then, we'll have the SIs and the Type R and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, excited to see that next week. And Ferrari this week has revealed the convertible version of the hybrid SF90 supercar called the SF90 Spider. And so it's a retracting hardtop, just like on the F8 Spider, that can go up and down in 14 seconds. It runs the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 combined with 3 electric motors for the total of 986 horsepower and then 590 pound-feet of torque. The gas motor itself makes 796 horsepower on its own, so nearly 800 horsepower just from gas, and then you get an extra 200 horsepower boost there with that electric motors. And it runs it all through an 8-speed dual clutch, and then thanks to those 2 electric motors in the front, it has all-wheel drive as well. So again, all the same stuff as the regular SF90, but I'm just giving the highlights here for those that aren't super aware of what that car is like. And so anyway, it actually does the same 0 to 62 time as the coupe as well, and the same top speed. So 0 to 60 happens in 2.5 seconds, and top speed is 211 miles per hour, even with the top down, which is pretty crazy. And so that's going to be arriving late 2021. So we're probably about a year away from actually seeing those on the streets, but interesting to see that nonetheless. And a vehicle that was already spied on the streets here, thanks to C. Adrobo on Instagram, who sent me in these pictures of the BMW 2 Series Coupe, and this is the real coupe, obviously the 2-door version. And so we have a new fresh look at this. Now, we've seen spy shots that were taken over in Europe previously, and we've seen leaks in the past year or so here, but this is a nice clear look of one just stopped, and gives us some really interesting proportions. Looks like it's going to be a little less stubby than the old 2 Series Coupe was, and I think it's going to be a really nice design, but obviously everything's very heavily camouflaged, so we can't tell too much. But the big wheels suggest this is, a sportier M version. So this was actually spotted in Calabasas, California, so hopefully we'll start seeing more of these and maybe even get an exhaust clip at some point. But the rumors were that this was going to arrive by next fall of 2021, and so it seems like it's kind of on that path here, since we're seeing them here in the States now showing up, and so exciting to see that, and huge thanks to him for sending those in to me. And Hyundai this week. Lots of Hyundai stories I'm going to go through here, and a lot of them are performance oriented, so I know you guys will be excited about that. First, on the performance front, they revealed more about their future lineup of N models and N-Line models. And so first, the Elantra N has been confirmed and shown with only a camo wrap, and there's actually some people on a launch this past week that were driving that prototype version. So the official numbers haven't been posted by Hyundai as far as what that Elantra N is going to do, but Redline Reviews in one of his Instagram posts just drove the car, and he gave some specs, and I'm not sure if this is official or not, but he's saying it's going to run the 2-liter turbo motor like the Veloster N, but it's going to be a little bit more powerful with 276 horsepower, which is only one more, but then 289 pound-feet of torque, which is a jump of 29 pound-feet, although some of that may come from the overboost function that's exclusively on the dual clutch version. But I believe in the Veloster N, the overboost only gives you like 20 more pound-feet of torque. This seems to be a little bit more. So we'll have to see. Maybe it has a slightly unique tune. I was kind of expecting exact copy numbers from the Veloster N, but maybe it'll be a little bit different. But it's probably going to be in that range, you know, regardless of what it is. And, you know, we'll have the dual clutch transmission, but also we'll have a manual available as well. And so that's great that, you know, that has been confirmed too. They also revealed the pricing for the Sonata N-Line finally. So we already had the reveal, and I drove that last year, a camouflage version of that. And so we're finally going to have, you know, all the details here. So it's going to be starting at $34,195, including destination. So that is on the higher end of the Sonata spectrum. That's just barely under a limited Sonata. But of course, it's much faster with way more power than all the other versions of the Sonata. And it also does come fully loaded for the most part, it seems. It gives you the 10.25-inch wide touchscreen, digital gauges, panoramic roof, all that kind of stuff. So it seems like it's basically pretty close to a limited. I mean, it's a little less luxurious, but basically all the same kind of features. And then you have all that extra power, so it could actually be kind of a bargain depending on how you look at the Sonata lineup. Continuing with the N news, though. They also confirmed a Tucson N-Line when they revealed the US version of the Tucson here, which I'll get to in a minute. But so they confirmed that. That's going to be cool. I'm guessing that'll maybe do the same power as the Sonata N-Line. We'll have to wait and see on all that. But there's also two more models under covers there you can see in their image, which are almost certainly going to be the Kona N and the Kona N-Line. Kona N seems pretty certain to be using the same stuff as the Veloster, although maybe it could be a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be. And then as far as the Kona N-Line, some people are thinking it's just going to be like the suspension upgrades, since the Kona Turbo already runs, you know, a detuned version of the same engine you get in the Veloster Turbo, but it only does 175 horsepower. I think the N-Line would be very easy to just do the same tune you do in the Veloster Turbos, give it the 201 horsepower or whatever. And I think that could give it a little bit of a boost, as well as still having the suspension stuff, just to make it a little bit more worthwhile for that N-Line for people getting that. We'll have to wait and see on all those. Supposedly all these models will be rolling out by 2022. I don't know if that's model year or calendar year, but regardless, you know, we basically have about a year or year and a half maybe to wait, you know, for all those to come out. But great additions all around. Moving on to the 2022 Tucson, though. So it was revealed back in September, but now we have US details and more pictures. So I think it looks great for one. I mean, it really is looking really good. Even with those little orange markers they had to put in here for the States, I think it still looks super futuristic and a good bit different than a lot of the other competitors out there. One detail that is confirmed, though, is that both the 8-inch screen and the 10-inch screen, as far as, you know, infotainment systems, will both have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I'm glad they fixed that, because it seemed like the 10-inch screen and like the Elantra and stuff, or the larger screen in the Elantra, didn't get the wireless smartphone integration, but the smaller screen did, which seemed backwards. I'm hoping that's something they fix pretty quickly, since it seems like the Tucson has it on both, and so that's great. Other things, they revealed the base engine here will be the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. This is all stuff we've heard already, but it is coming to the States in this form. 187 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque, along with fuel economy numbers they gave us, 28 mpg combined, which is 3 better than the old Tucson's 2.4-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. And it runs it all through an 8-speed automatic, regardless of whether you go front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I'm guessing that fuel economy rating is for the front-wheel drive version. But still, I mean, 28 mpg makes it, you know, much more competitive with everything else out there, so that's great. They also revealed specs for the hybrid version, which they confirmed is coming here, as well as a plug-in hybrid, which I'll get to in a minute. But the hybrid version uses a 1.6-liter turbo 4 and a single electric motor for 226 combined horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, which makes it a good bit more powerful than that regular model by a lot. And so that one's going to be running through a 6-speed auto, and there's no official MPG numbers yet for that, but they claim 30% better fuel economy over the regular version, which does sound like that would make it a little bit less impressive than all the other hybrid competitors like the CR-V hybrid and you know, the RAV4 hybrid, but this would have a good bit more power than all those, especially the torque, way above even the CR-V hybrid, which was the new top dog as far as that goes. So this would be faster, but you're going to be hurt on the fuel economy side. So it depends if you want just an economical hybrid, maybe this won't be the greatest, but if you want a sportier hybrid, I think this could be the ticket possibly. And so they also, in addition to making it sportier, they also said that it's going to handle a little bit better most likely, because Hyundai is going to be including this new e-handling system, which sounds like a torque vectoring system where it uses electric stuff in the back there to, you know, I guess reduce understeer and help with turn-in and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see about all that. But that sounds like they're actually trying to go for some type of performance here, which is kind of cool, even without being in an N version. So that's great. They also did confirm we'll get the plug-in hybrid, and they confirmed it's going to be using a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery and have 28 miles of electric range, I think is what they're estimating on the EPA range. So that's good, but they didn't reveal any power specs. In Korea, I believe it's like closer to 250 horsepower, 260 horsepower, I think, for the plug-in hybrid version here, which again, RAV4 Prime is still going to be the king with its 300 horsepower there. And the RAV4 Prime also has 42 miles of range versus the 28 you get here in this. So RAV4 Prime is still the best, but considering it's still really hard to get a RAV4 Prime, this could be a great alternative for people who don't need that much electric range. That's a nice little alternative there. So regular and hybrid Tucsons will be arriving here in the States in the spring of 2021. So just a few months away here, and the plug-in hybrid is going to be coming next summer. So these are all rolling out relatively quick, and so I'm excited to see them. We don't have any pricing yet for those either, but hopefully we get that here relatively soon. And some other electrified Hyundai news. Hyundai also revealed that the electrified models it's planning on rolling out here will be available by the end of 2022 for these ones you're seeing here in this little chart. And so the chart confirms basically we'll get the plug-in hybrid Santa Fe, which we assume we probably would. We already saw what it looks like in Europe and stuff, but now we know it's coming to the States. Also, for the fully electric stuff, we'll have to wait for the Ioniq 5 and 6. And I went over the Ioniq stuff. It's going to be like a whole new sub-brand within Hyundai for electric stuff. And so the odd numbers are SUVs and the even numbers are sedans. So this means the 5 is going to be the first SUV, and it's going to be a production version of the 45 concept, they say, which was basically like a hatchback. So if it's lifted up, maybe it'll be a crossover the same way the Niro is a crossover at Kia. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a little bit more than that, but it didn't seem like it was much more than a slightly lifted wagon or hatchback in the spy photos that were shown a while back. So we'll have to see about that. And then the Ioniq 6 is going to be inspired by the Prophecy concept. There's talk also that could be, one of the things that could be using the Rimac components, because they do have a partnership with them and Kia. So we'll have to see about all that. But regardless, that kind of stuff, to have two fully new electric vehicles coming by the end of 2022, we're only talking about roughly 2 years away here. That's pretty impressive, and it could come even a little bit sooner than that. So cool to see all that. Moving on from the Hyundais, though, BMW this week revealed their own crazy vehicle, the 2022 BMW iX. And so it's a bold-looking thing, isn't it? I was shocked when this thing came out. So I think a lot of it looks like the i3, especially in the side profile. It's like a stretched-out i3. And I know the i3 wasn't received well, so I was kind of surprised they leaned this heavily into this design. But anyway, there's lots of other interesting touches on the car I'll go over, but the mechanical specs are pretty impressive, so we'll start there. It uses 2 electric motors for 500 horsepower. It'll have a 0 to 60 time of under 5 seconds, all pretty good stuff. They also estimate that it'll be rated for about 300 miles of range by the EPA, although the battery size wasn't actually revealed or anything. But they said it can do 200 kilowatt DC fast charging to get from 10% to 80% in under 40 minutes, or you can get just an extra 75 miles in 10 minutes if you'd like. And so it sounds like it'll charge fairly quickly. Transitioning to the exterior details, a couple interesting things. Under the front BMW badge, that you actually pop that up, and that's where you can fill up your washer fluid, because the hood does not open on this thing unless you're a BMW tech or something. So that's all sealed off, and so that's how you actually fill your washer fluid. The grille actually contains all the cameras and sensors, and because that area is vital to the car as far as, all the sensors and stuff, BMW is actually going to be heating that area so that it doesn't get frozen over, I guess. And they also are going to have a washer jet to clean that area off so that, even if you're driving in inclement weather, you can still have that advanced driver assistance stuff help you out. And so that's an interesting little thing that I don't think I've seen yet on any of these vehicles with all these millions of sensors. Usually it's just like, oh, the sensor's dirty, we'll just stop working and you can clean it off whenever you get a chance. Sounds like it's going to kind of clean itself a bit, which is cool. Inside it gets a refreshingly clean sheet design, which is, I think, the biggest thing I'm excited about with this vehicle. Is it's just finally BMW is doing something that doesn't look like every other BMW. And so you have a hexagonal steering wheel. There's glass controls on wood. which is a really cool look. We'll see how well that actually works, but it's gorgeous. I mean, even the seat controls are like these crystal patterns, and it just looks really, really cool. There's 2 screens and a curved display. And the gauges are a 12.3-inch display, and then the infotainment is a pretty big 14.9-inch display, so pretty massive there. The glass roof is also electrochromatic, so it can shade itself on command, like what you see in the new Toyota Venza and also in the McLarens and stuff. And then also the colors are really interesting. You can get this like red interior color, there's a blue one, and they have all these different patterns on them. It's kind of unique and different. And so yeah, it's bold for sure. And it's not going to be too far off. BMW is saying it's going to be arriving in the US in the first half of 2022. I think it'll arrive in Europe a little bit sooner because I think they said production is going to start in the middle of 2021. So, they're only about 6 or maybe 7 months away from production for these things. So this isn't some far off thing like a lot of these other electric vehicles you've been seeing in the past few months. And Land Rover this week has revealed the refreshed Discovery. So the exterior hasn't changed too much, just some new lights in the front and the back, along with lightly restyled bumpers and grille, all that kind of stuff. The bigger changes, though, are under the hood and on the inside. So mechanically, it's going to be ditching the supercharged V6, just like most of the other JLR products. I think only the F-Type is the only one that's keeping that engine. Everything else is getting rid of it. And so now the base engine is a turbo 4-cylinder, and it's the same when you get another. It's the Ingenium motor, but it's the most powerful version of that engine, so it is going to be the 296 horsepower version of the 2-liter. It's still a downgrade though performance-wise, because the base engine in Discovery used to be that supercharged V6. So if you do want a 6-cylinder, you can upgrade to the new 3-liter inline 6 turbo with 48-volt tech, and that does 355 horsepower. So that does give you a little bit more power, because the base engine had 340 horsepower. But I mean, you're still down, almost 45 horsepower with that new base 4-cylinder. The interior gets the same huge improvements like other new Jaguar and Land Rovers with, that we've seen recently. The main thing being that big 11.4-inch touchscreen that looks fantastic. The new shifters, nice. There's nicer materials all throughout the cabin, and so that'll hopefully help to justify its price tag a little bit more. It is a little lower tech though than other higher Land Rovers, that usually have the dual screen set up there in the center. This just has the one screen and then the normal controls for climate. But that panel does actually drop down and give you extra storage, which is cool. But considering everything else uses dual screens in the JLR range, in the SUVs at least, I think that would be kind of nice to include, but I guess they're keeping it a little bit simpler. And this is a little bit cheaper than a lot of the other high stuff, the Range Rovers and stuff. The gauges are also nicely improved, and that's the newest 12.3-inch digital gauge setup that looks really nice and modern. It also now has a wade mode for when you want to drive through water, and then the ground view camera that debuted on the Evoque is going to be available here as well, and so that's a great addition. Even with the engine downgrade, though, base pricing has still gone up by $1,600 to $55,250, including destination. So you're paying more money, and you do get, some little improvements, but you have way less power. So I'm sure most people buying a base Discovery don't really care about horsepower a whole lot, and this should be sufficient. It's just kind of the principle of it, I guess. But getting back into a 6-cylinder Discovery, if you do really want that, that's going to now cost you at least $63,250. And yeah, those should be arriving pretty soon, so interesting to see that. Ram this week has revealed a 2500 Power Wagon 75th Anniversary Edition for the 2021 model year this week. And so the main change on the outside, it has this unique grille with vertical slats, just like on the old Power Wagons. I think that actually looks really cool. I like that grille a lot. I kind of hope they bring that over to other models in the future. But the LED headlights have black trim on them, and the blacked out look kind of continues on much of the trim and the badging and all that kind of stuff you see. Inside, it gets this rich looking dark brown leather with 75th anniversary logos on them. And then it's going to be arriving before the end of the year, and it's going to be starting at just under $67,000. So cool to see that. In some other truck news, Ford has shown a new electric F-150 prototype this week while they were revealing the E-Transit electric van that they just came out with, which for anyone who's curious is like 125 miles of range. So it's not indicative of what we're going to see on the F-150, because that would be way too low for range. But for a little electric delivery van, that should be fine every day. And so I'm not really going to get into that because I'm sure most of you don't care. But as far as the F-150 goes, it still looks like an old F-150 here, but this one has more off-road oriented tires, and they ditched the aero skirt in the front and they gave it an actual skid plate instead. So this is a you know, a little bit more legit off-road version. Could be a Tremor or an FX4 kind of package or something. But it does suggest that the electric F-150 is not going to be all about just range, and there will be a version like this with, you know, knobbier tires and less aerodynamic aids, and will almost certainly have worse range because of it. But for people who don't need the absolute most amount of range, they could have this, have a little bit of extra off-road capability, make it a little bit more rugged. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure when we'll finally see, you know, the full electric F-150, but I'm guessing it's still a little ways off. And some other electric Ford news, though. They revealed that their factory in Mexico that's building the Mach-E, which, by the way, already started production, so those should start rolling into dealers here, I think, in the next month or two. Anyway, they'll be building an additional electrified vehicle, they're saying, that shares a similar electrified platform as the Mustang Mach-E. So it's anyone's guess as far as what is going to get the Mach-E platform, but my first thought was a Lincoln version, especially since, you know, back right around when COVID first hit, Lincoln announced they weren't going to do the Rivian thing, where they were partnered up with Rivian to do an electric crossover with Lincoln. That, you know, got canned, so I think maybe, especially once they were like seeing that there was going to be a financial hit from COVID, they're like, well, let's just save money and use the Mach-E platform. I think that'd be totally fine. I don't think anyone would expect anything less from Lincoln. I mean, it still is a subsidiary of Ford, you know? So, I mean, I don't think that'd be a bad thing at all. And that's the most likely guess that I have. You know, obviously it could be for an actual electric Mustang Coupe. I don't know what they would call it because they can't call it the Mustang Mach-E. They already took that name, so I don't know what they're going to call it. I'm still a little bit bitter about the Mach-E name. But anyway, I don't know what they would call it, but you know, there's almost certainly going to be an electric version of the normal two-door Mustang at some point, especially for the next-gen version that's coming in 2022. Anyway, there's something else coming with the Mach-E platform. It's not a surprise. I figured they'd probably use that platform for a dozen different vehicles, so I'm sure it's only a matter of time. But yeah, great to hear that, and we'll see. Hopefully, whatever it is, it has awesome performance too. And lastly, there's an interesting report here from Autocar that in the UK, they claim that the next-gen BRZ won't come to Europe and possibly won't even come to Japan, which I find very unlikely. But this all seems crazy, but they insist that it's going to be a US-only model. So their report doesn't say exactly why it's not going to be a US, or it's only a US model, but the only possible reason I can think of is if the 2.4-liter engine, which is exclusive to the States here, even without a turbo, if they can't certify that engine for Japan and Europe for some reason. I mean, I get that it'd be expensive to certify that engine for those markets, but the 2-liter engine that is in the current BRZ in 86 was a brand new engine that they had to certify for all markets. And this 2.4 is going to be a brand new engine, aside, you know, since it's not going to have the turbos, so it's not the same exact thing. So you have to recertify it for the States anyway, you know, just like you had to do with the 2-liter for the first gen. So I don't know why that would stop them from doing this. I don't think it's a fuel economy thing, because it's not like it's a gas guzzler. And even if it's low volume, I mean, that's something that, you know, it's not going to sell any better in the States than it will in Japan, I don't think. So I'm not sure, you know, why, you know, we would only get it. So I still don't really think there's a whole lot to this story, but a lot of other outlets are like, well, this is totally possible. And I don't see how they would have ever greenlit a BRZ in 86, a next-gen version, if they weren't selling it globally. Like, I mean, you know, I think obviously over the life of the BRZ, I think like the first year they sold like 12,000 or something, and then it kind of dwindled down ever since then, and I think now we're down to just a few thousand sales a year. There is no way they're building a next-gen version only to sell 3,000 of them a year or something. Like, the math just wouldn't work out, I don't think, unless they're just losing money on them and doing it for the fun of it. I don't know, but personally, I don't know, but I know a lot of, you know, like I said, other people have been talking about this. I wouldn't get too concerned just yet if you're in Europe or Japan. And thankfully, we only have a couple more days here until we finally have the full reveal of the BRZ. You know, I'm kind of happy they're revealing it so soon here. So we'll finally have, hopefully, details on the engine, details on where it's going to be sold, and everything else. And so we only have a few more days to wait for that. And also, so it's going to be revealed this coming Wednesday. And I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on that on Wednesday, so I can talk about it a good long while and won't have to worry about making the weekly update, you know, a super long video. So that will be a little midweek special talking about just the BRZ on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that, what your thoughts are on the crazy iX from BMW and everything else that we talked about this week. I'm always curious to hear you guys' thoughts, and I thank all of you for tuning in every week. It really, really helps, and I really, really appreciate it. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this weekly update, and so thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.